Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Live with Pixel Fusion. I'm Lauren Yeoman and this is Catherine Barrow.
Hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about some really interesting topics. We're going to touch on a great article that we read recently about WeWork's IPO, which was really interesting.
That was pretty crazy actually.
Yeah. Crazy, definitely. We're going to talk about the Maritime Museum and their exciting new website. And before we get to those, we actually thought we'd talk about customer journey mapping. Because it's just so popular at the moment, isn't it?
It is. There's a huge increase in awareness with customer journey mapping. I mean, more than ever, businesses just have sticky notes and sticky dots and full-on customer journey maps all over their rooms. And I guess it's a lot to do with expectations, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, all these businesses out there, like digital-focused ones, like Airbnb and Uber, for example, have lifted the customer expectations to a point where the only way they can keep up is to implement a really strong customer experience strategy and become customer centric or die.
Yeah, pretty much do or die.
Yeah. You said it's like reaching a tipping point.
Yeah, it does. It definitely feels like a tipping point at the moment. And I think, with those raising customer expectations is coming this awareness of the need to be customer centric, and people are looking for ways to do that. And one of the sort of very popular approaches that people are taking at the moment is customer journey mapping. And that's not for no reason. That the process of mapping that experience is really insightful. You can gather a lot of great, information and gain a lot of perspective about your customer experience. I think the danger is that sometimes that's seen as the end goal, that the journey map is the destination, when in actual fact it's just one of many tools that should be employed as part of a wider customer experience strategy and cycle.
So we do the customer journey map, we get all these insights, the team gets really integrated together. I mean, it's amazing team building experience as well. We put it up on the wall, we feel the sense of pride, we look at our sticky notes, and then after that, like a week, 2 weeks, maybe a month, it stays up and we use it. And then we crunch it up and put it in the bin, right? So that's a problem.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
It's not continuous. What is the best way for us to use journey maps? How should we be embedding it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. The advice that I always give is that they should really be part of day-to-day conversations inside your business. They really become like a campfire, that you can stand around as a team when you're having your stand-ups, or when you're talking about strategy, or when you're prioritizing features, whatever it is that you're doing. The experience, the customer experience map becomes that place that you can go to and refer to the customer insights and then update it. And that's why it needs to be part of that wider process. There needs to be a framework for not just creating the customer journey map, but actually getting the insights out of it and then actioning them and testing them and getting the results and feeding all of that back into the map itself. And so I always encourage teams to keep those maps low fidelity, keep them as post-it notes, keep them up on the wall in a central place. Don't go and spend thousands of dollars designing this really beautifully illustrated map, because it'll be outdated in a month, 2 months tops. Instead, keep it as post-it notes, allow yourself to move things around, update them, change them, and really make them a member of the team as opposed to just another deliverable that you've ticked off your list.
I really like how that makes it cyclical. So it's always changing, it's very flexible, it's dynamic, and it's as customers change and as the insights lead you to a different direction, you're able to just...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I always say is if your journey map isn't changing, then you're not doing it right, because the whole point is to map out the experience so that you can identify ways to change it and improve it. So if it hasn't changed,
you're not innovating.
You're not getting any value out of it. It's wasted time.
So how do we know when a journey map is actually the right tool? Because we know that there's lots of other tools and lots of other ways of gaining insights out there. When's the right time to do one?
Yeah, it's really important to ask yourself that, and it comes down at the end of the day to what is the outcome that you're trying to achieve, right? Which should be the question you ask yourself before you do literally anything, is what is it I'm actually hoping to achieve with this process? So journey maps create value in a few different ways. So the primary value is that they create a bird's eye view of an end-to-end journey. And with that sort of zoomed out bird's eye view comes an improved perspective of your journey. So you can see how different touch points compare to each other. You can see where the low points are, you can see where the high points are, and that allows you to do a few things. It allows you to identify opportunities to improve.
Yep.
So places where you're falling down and your customers are disappointed, and you can improve that. But more importantly, with perspective comes the opportunity to actually innovate, because you can now see how different touch points relate to each other, you can see where the gaps are, and you can see opportunities to create new value or to optimize and streamline processes instead of just improving them. So it creates a lot of value in that sense. They also create value in terms of team alignment, which you actually mentioned earlier, Lauren, is the process of creating that map aligns your team around a shared understanding of that customer journey. It breaks down silos, it creates a shared sort of language and approach to things, and that is in and of itself is inherently valuable.
And also it can help hold each person accountable in the team, because now you know if some people are dropping the ball and you need to put more effort into that, you know, so that you can get to this place where you can start innovating.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like a strategy as well.
Yeah. And so when it comes to understanding whether journey mapping is the right tool for the job, the question is, are those outcomes that I've just talked about the kinds of things that you're trying to learn and the kinds of things you're trying to achieve? If so, great, customer journey mapping is probably a good approach. If not, then there's heaps of other tools and methodologies out there that you can use to achieve the goal you're trying to accomplish.
And how long does it take to put a journey map together when you start?
That's one of those questions that really comes down to it depends. But generally speaking, they're quite an investment in time. The last thing you want to do is kind of slap together a journey map based on assumptions and do it in an hour and then treat that as gospel. You want to give it the time and the focus that it needs to really be accurate. So you want to go and talk to some customers, you want to look at data, you want to get people from across the business into a room and really give yourself some time to do it properly. Generally speaking, we've facilitated journey mapping workshops that take 1 to 2 days, but they generally have a process of research that comes before that as well. But yeah, it depends on the complexity. So the simplest journey map that you can create is going to be a customer trying to accomplish a single task on a single touch point. So for example, opening a bank account on your website. So if you're a bank website,
that would just be showing one section of like a larger
journey map. So it's a subsection of the wider journey. The most complex journey map that you can create is going to be
your whole business,
the whole thing, literally the entire customer life cycle across all touch points. So online, in person, customer call center, literally apps, chatbots, everything all in one. That's massive. And that's a big undertaking and a big investment, and a lot of the time it's not actually that necessary. It usually makes sense to focus, because again, we're thinking about what is it that you're trying to achieve, what is it you're trying to learn, and more often than not, you really need to focus on a subset of that journey.
I keep thinking though, like, why can't we have a war room of just journey maps?
Yeah, well, you could.
So you can have people do design sprints, 3 days, 5 days, the design sprints. Now you can have a journey map week where you create your long, low fidelity one, and then you create mini ones with the different teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what you're alluding to there is actually something that we've been working on quite a lot, which is a framework we call the thin slicing framework for customer journey mapping, which essentially does exactly that. You create a really high level journey map that crosses all of your touch points, all of the stages of the journey, and then the idea is that in cycles, and they might be sort of quarterly cycles perhaps, you actually go through and focus in on one slice of that journey and you dig deeper. So you zoom into it, you map out that sub-journey, you do more research, you do more validation, and that allows you to kind of keep that journey map up to date and alive over time.
And that really fits into the design thinking way of doing things, right?
Yes, yep, absolutely. It's that sort of divergent and convergent thinking. So you're going broad and mapping out the whole journey, and then you're converging in on a single part of it, exploring that in more detail, and then going back to the journey and you keep going.
Now, for our friends out there who know us pretty well, you know that we love to work with the arts and culture sector. And last week, Maritime Museum launched their new, redesigned and redeveloped website. So I'll put the link up so you can have a look. But yeah, the new site and the content management system is hosted in AWS, which is pretty cool.
Yep, gives them access to a whole bunch of additional tools and features and functionality that we all know AWS offers, which is great.
Yeah, and it's built on a unified platform, hey?
Yeah, so RFA has this amazing unified platform that allows all of their business units to share features and functionality, which really shortcuts the process for them in terms of being able to add new features. And even more excitingly, actually allows them to share data between their different business units. So whether it's Auckland Art Gallery or Maritime Museum or Auckland Zoo, they have access to a wealth of data from across regional facilities Auckland, which really makes for exciting innovation opportunities for them.
So if you haven't already, take some time, have a look at that link, and go check out the new website. Give them some love.
Yep, and go visit. You can take boats out on the harbour and stuff.
Have you done that?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, we did. We took the whole team out there. It was really fun.
Yeah, that's cool. I remember when we did those interviews at the Maritime, and it was such an amazing experience to have a walk around there. It's something that it just seemed not the most touristy thing to do.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those little hidden gems in Auckland that I think is really worth visiting.
If you haven't done it, you should definitely go down to the Maritime Museum and have that whole experience. There's lots of history there. And
lots of great stories.
Yeah. So let's talk about this article that we read this last week. It's pretty amazing. A huge pile of cash outside of cash with a little bit of technology, and you kind of put a spin on the conventional strategy, and out pops a unicorn. I mean, it's pretty shocking, right? You read the article. What do you think, Kat?
Yeah, so I mean, for those of you who weren't here for the start of this stream, we're talking about the WeWork IPO article, which is just crazy, really. And I think it's a real example of the sort of tech unicorn taken to an extreme. You know, they are a massive business. They've got, presence in hundreds of different places, different cities and countries. And yet they're really making quite significant losses year on year. And they've just launched this crazy IPO, and they talk about wanting to raise the world's consciousness and have a global impact. But I think what it really raises is some interesting questions around the duty of these big sort of tech startups to actually make a profit for their shareholders. I think we talk a lot about startups and how they shouldn't be measured on their profit from day one, because they're learning and they're pivoting and they're experimenting, and that's all absolutely true. But at some point in time, especially if you're going to, have an IPO, I think the focus really does need to be on how are we going to get to a point where our business model is actually profitable. And in their documentation, they actually talk about not being profitable for the foreseeable future, which is
what does that mean?
Quite concerning.
3 years, 5 years, 10 years.
Yeah, I don't know. So it's going to be interesting to see whether their business model is actually sustainable and will actually become profitable. I have my doubts, I must say. I'm not running out to buy stock in WeWork.
Well, if you don't know, it's basically a long-term. They're basically taking out long-term leases on office buildings, and then they're renting them out onto others on a short-term basis.
Yeah, so these really great co-working spaces.
And they know they're making a loss,
but
they're still going to do it. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Tell us what you think about this.
Yes.
We'd love. This is just.
Do you think they're going to raise the consciousness of the globe through their offices?
What is the greater good exactly? Can there be the greater good without balancing out with sustainability, money?
Yeah.
Do you think they'll be around in 5 or 2 years' time even? Would you put money on them?
Yeah, love to hear your thoughts.
Cool. So if you want to watch the next show, the easiest way to stay connected with us is to like and subscribe to our pages. If you want us to talk about certain events, throw your ideas at us.
If you've got interesting articles about crazy IPOs that you'd like us to talk about, let us know.
Yeah, we just want to make this 10 minutes every week an awesome experience for you. And as we're getting started out and we're learning, we're just thankful that you guys are on the journey with us. And thank you for all the feedback that we got from the last one. It's been really insightful.
Yeah.
And a little bit cringeworthy, actually, when you watch yourself back on these things. But yeah, if you have any thoughts, please let us know as well. We just appreciate you guys, and we don't do this for any other reason other than you. So thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Yep, bye.